All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to compete at BKFC 31. It is a welterweight co-main event feature going down on October 15th. We got Brandon Girtz getting out there with Jake Lindsey, knuckling up, toeing the line and everything, and always good getting to have Jake on the show, and especially so during fight week here. How are you feeling there, man, just a few days out from the fight?
I feel like $1,000,000, man. I'm just ready to go. I hate waiting. Fight week's about, a lot of people get all anxious and shit. I just want to hurry up. I want to get in there, piece somebody up, and get out. You know, I got stuff to do.
Yeah, and it seems like there's a lot on the go in your life lately. Like, I saw the news about the baby on the way towards the end of summer there, so big congratulations in that regard there, man.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm pretty busy, man. I'm just trying to, you know, I've been fighting for so long. I try to disconnect from it mentally. I literally won't really even think about it that much until fight night. It's on autopilot at this point. I think that's really attributed to my success in BKFC because I can be so relaxed and not be over anxious about it. I'm just going to go in there and do my thing and leave and then get back to real life. You know, a lot of guys, I remember when I was younger, I used to build it up a lot. And you think about it all week and you get all anxious about it and you can't sleep. I'm way over that. I honestly wish I could just always fight in my hometown so I could wake up at home, go beat a dude up, and go home right afterwards. The whole traveling thing is fun, but I'd rather just, you know, do it. It's like a job to me. I just want to go to work and then get off.
Yeah, for sure. I get what you're saying, and yeah, that is a fair point. I mean, I feel like just having like the bit of experience you have too in BKFC and whatnot, is that like what leads to your temperament, you think, or just more the cumulative combat sports experience you've had over the last few years kind of coming together?
I think it's just everything all coming together at once. You have big wins, you have big losses, you have big successes and achievements, and you have big letdowns, and it's just. And at this point in my career, I have no. When you first started, you have all these aspirations of doing all these great things, and that's a good thing to have. But I think sometimes actually just having those aspirations and putting too much pressure on yourself almost ruins your chances to get there instead of just doing what you do naturally. So, yeah, I just feel insanely comfortable in fighting at this point. I don't really get nervous. Maybe I should get a bit more nervous sometimes, but I just want to go out there and be loose and just kind of self-express and do my thing. I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself, and I feel like that's how you perform the best, is just going out there and getting into that flow state and just doing your thing.
Yeah, for sure, and I feel like also you like really surround yourself with a core group of people that have been there for quite a while now. Like, it seems like there's always been that strong rapport with like Combative Sports Center and, you know, Joe Wilk training you and stuff like that.
Yeah, I always have. I mean, he's been my coach since day one, but honestly, not saying that there's not that strong rapport there, but like I'm so on autopilot, I do like 90% of the training myself. Like I do almost everything for the last. Not saying like, you know, Joe's a fundamental part of we game plan together, you know, but I've been doing this for so long. Refining this, I don't need anyone to help me really super refine the skills. I do all my own strength conditioning. I do all my own training schedule. I do all my own nutrition. You know, I have some sparring partners here and there, but I don't even spar that much anymore. It's just so on autopilot. Joe's fundamentally important, you know, very good coaching advice. He knows me in and out. And I'm at the point in my career where, like, I don't need to, nor do I even necessarily want, like a super structured training. I don't need to train 3 times a day and all that stuff. I train super, super hard by myself. I probably train harder by myself than most people train with a coach there. So, you know, there's definitely, I have a few individuals that have always been super supportive, and that's really all I need. But I'm motivated, and you know, honestly, not to like tell myself up, but I don't think I know anyone who could do and train and fight at the level I fight at, who does it kind of mostly on their own. I think I just found a good little cycle for me and how I train and how I think and all that stuff. So, you know, I don't think you need a gigantic team. A couple solid bros around you, solid girl, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about like mostly getting in the training like on your own and like maybe not even as much sparring, but like on the off chance you are getting in that work, like at least I've known in the past you've worked with certain people like, you know, David Rickles and stuff like that, and seems like Isaac Doolittle you've had some close connectivity with too, who's obviously prominently featured on this card. Like, who have you been? Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just knew what you were going to ask.
Yeah, no worries, it's all good.
No, like, for sure. Like, David Rickles, for sure. Like, it's quality over quantity. You know, me and David have got some really couple, 2-3 really good sparring sessions over the last little bit. And all the JMTK guys are always super valuable. That's the gym in Wichita David's from. And then I train with some guys at KO Boxing in Manhattan every now and then. I get a couple really good sparring sessions in there. So, yeah, I think what people do is they kind of and I talked about this a couple of years ago, and a lot of people related to it. People overanalyze every little fucking aspect of what they do, and they make it too complicated. They are so concerned with, improving every little aspect that what they do is when they improve, and they try to improve so much so fast, and they try to learn all these new things, they kind of forget the old stuff they're good at. And like they go into a fight and they lose, and then they have to reevaluate their entire life. I have to change this and change that. It's like, no, man, sometimes you just don't perform good, and you just got to keep grinding, keep doing what works for you. And that's kind of what I do. I have, I am learning continually, and it's not that I'm not doing that. It's just I don't reevaluate everything after every fight. You just keep improving what you're good at, add little tiny things here and there, and just keep the quality of training up. I'd rather spar 3 times in 3 months with David and all the high level guys that get to spar with, and spar 3 times a week with guys who either just go too hard or just don't know how to spar or aren't the right training partners, because that actually hurts you in the long term. It's like, not to give you a long-winded answer, but I rant. It's people, they'll like, look at Valentina Shevchenko. She trains once a day. That's it. No 3 times a day, none of that bullshit. She does an hour or 2 of very, very highly focused training, and then she's done. So she's always kind of on point. That's why I think she's always consistently so good in fights, because she doesn't overdo it. She doesn't drain her gas tank. She's always sharp and clean, and she puts in an hour or 2 of highly focused quality training a day, and then goes on with her life. And that's where I feel like I'm at in my career, and I think that it does good for me.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really optimized and squarely focused, and yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see there for sure. Like, obviously you've been very squarely focused in pursuing the martial arts journey too, but it seems like you have like some other cool aspects going on in your life as well. Just like it seems like your personal life has been developing at a good rate too, because like the initial time we were talking, you'd mentioned overcoming some very serious like mental health struggles like during the UFC run and stuff like that. So maybe perhaps that plays into it a bit too, just like the personal life kind of going smoothly as well, kind of helping create that focus a touch more.
Say that again.
Oh, just saying maybe that like helps with that focus a touch more too, like creates that like comfortable kind of focused temperament you were talking about. Because I feel like if the personal life is hectic, it's maybe harder to focus on the training and the professional life.
Yeah, that's for sure. I really appreciate you. Like, you're one of the better guys I deal with on interviews, because you remember all that stuff. Like, I really appreciate you remembering that and kind of bringing that up. I think you're right on that. I think a lot of people can learn from that. I just am. You work all these years, you go through the up and downs, and you just need to really get comfortable in yourself and realize that fighting is a form of self-expression. Like, win or lose, bottom line is it's a form of self-expression, and people don't see it like that. I know it's an athletic event and all this stuff, but you go out there and you're feeling confident and comfortable with yourself, win or lose. I'm not worried about. Clearly, I'm going to bust my ass and try to win, and I'm a fucking monster. And I have that part of me that will push and push and push, and is a dog, and will brawl and scrap, and it will never quit. But at the same time, it's like I've been through so much worse things. When you put life into perspective, I've been through so many worse things in my life than losing a fight. So that just allows me, and going through all those negative things I went through earlier on, midway through my career, allows me now to have that perspective, and I can just be myself fully. And that's been the key. That's the key to fighting in combat sports. It's not the best fighter who goes in there. It's the person who can be more themselves and be as they are when they're fully relaxed, that wins 9 times out of 10. And I think a lot of people don't realize that's a mental journey. They say in fighting it's 90% mental. It's like, yeah, well, that's a mental journey, man. And some guys, you know, were lucky enough to never have the issues I had. They just go through their career and they perform good every time and yada, yada, yada. I wasn't like that, but I feel like coming out the back end, I'm actually more, I can handle adversity a lot more better than those guys because I've been down. I've been super down low, you know, in my fighting career, my personal life, and having to crawl your way out of that pit. And I don't want to be depressing. Like, my life's fantastic. I'm not a negative guy, but just from a performance, you know, from an athletic performance perspective, any sort of that negativity, like, guys will be in the back, and they'll, like, one thing will go wrong, and they'll, like, think something, then they'll start having negative thinking. Like, oh, they don't have, maybe their corner couldn't show up, or they have a small injury, or this, that, and this could happen, and it makes them start worrying and start getting anxious. I don't give a shit. I'll show up to the arena barefoot, and then my coaches could not show up, and whatever, and I could have no warm-up, and I would have no qualms or negative thinking patterns walking out there. It'd be the exact same performance I had if my coaches were there, and I got to warm up, and I had my light blue Gatorade or whatever the hell I drink before I go out. Like, that stuff, I'm so far past that at this point. I think that's really the fundamental key. People need to realize, too, it's only a fight. You have 25 minutes max, 10 for me. 10 minutes. So, really, I could roll out of bed hungover and fight hard for 10 minutes. Like, not a fucking problem. And I've done it, believe me.
I was going to say, you've been fighting long enough, so I feel like that would happen now and again, or at least once. But, you know, speaking to the, you know, next task you have here, I'm sort of curious as to the familiarity in the opponent, because, like, obviously he was, like, pretty established within Bellator MMA, seemed like fairly known for, like, a certain firefight kind of style, which, like, when I saw him getting ready for, you know, transitioning to BKFC, I was like, oh yeah, you know, that kind of makes sense there. Like, what's the level of familiarity that was there when this bout offer came your way to fight Brandon Girtz?
Oh, I mean, I already knew. I've already been scouting that guy for a while, not even just for myself, but for other guys who were going to fight him. Now it's different because I was scouting him in MMA, but I'm pretty fair. I mean, I know what he's going to bring. I know what he does. I know what he does well. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit different because it's striking only. I think that'll be. I think it's better for him in MMA because he can wrestle and he's such a good wrestler, but I know he's a little fucking ball of fire. He's going to come out there swinging. I know his feints. I mean, I've been watching tons of video on him, but it's a fight, so, you know, things are never going to go the exact way you think. But no, I've been super familiar with him. I've been a fan of his a long time. I respect him a lot. He's got a big ass head, so I'll probably break my hands. But yeah, no, he's a little ball of fire, man, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very intriguing fight, and I do want to talk about some other facets of, you know, the fight and just the divisional placement for sure. But something I really quickly wanted to get some insights on, just because I'd noticed in July 14th, kind of specifically, you were indicating that you'd be competing for a Police Gazette American title. What kind of ended up happening with all of that there? Because, like, that didn't end up coming to fruition. It seemed like there was some behind-the-scenes confusion maybe from the promoters or something like that. Could you provide some insights on that? Or
yeah, so basically I think there was some confusion or some, like, shadiness going on with all the promoters I was dealing with, because I was being told one thing from one guy, then one thing from the other, and then one thing from the other. And then finally I actually got the guy who actually runs the whole Police Gazette thing reached out to me and said, hey, man, like, no one's contacted me about fighting for any title. So, and then the show, the only reason I agreed to do the show was because that belt was supposed to be on the line, which maybe that's why the promoters told me that, because I wouldn't fight for that low of a payday normally. But the Police Gazette belt is something I'd fight for free to fight for that belt. Like, don't get me wrong. But then Scott reached out to me and we talked for a little bit, you know. At first, he was kind of mad because he thought I was, like, in on the, you know, I was kind of bullshitting because I was making all the social media posts about it. And then we talked, and he's cool. And I told him I want to fight for the belt at some point, and he's down to have me fight for the belt. First off, you know, Jack Dempsey owned that belt at 65 at one point. You know, that's a historical belt, and I would I would fight for free to just have my name on the same plaque as Jack Dempsey. But yeah, it just kind of fell through. You know, it's one of those things where the promoters came at me and they're like, they needed the main event. It's like, here's what we can offer. And I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And you know, it just kind of fell through. It was one of those, you know, how promoters are, man. You don't ever really know if they're telling the truth or whatnot. But it was just some bullshit behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, no, that was kind of the impression that I got there. But I mean, your trajectory is positive enough where you'd be, you know, potentially looking at like a title shot down the line if you string together like some more wins and being positioned in like a co-main event kind of role opposite a guy like Brandon Girtz and stuff like that there. I'm almost kind of surprised you're not up there in the rankings as of yet. Do you kind of look at, I mean, obviously you're not overlooking the immediate task, but is there a certain sense of like, if you get a statement win, maybe you could garner like a ranked opponent, maybe trend towards like a BKFC welterweight title thereafter, or are you not even thinking about that really?
I mean, of course I'm thinking about it. I was super but I don't want to focus on it. Right after my last win, I was campaigning hard. I was supposed to fight again the next month. Then they couldn't find me an opponent. And then I was trying to find an every card. And I'm just going to let it come. Like, I'm not going to be disappointed if it doesn't happen. I'm not going to be, you know, I'm obviously going to be excited if it does. But yeah, I got to focus on Brandon Girtz. He's a tough guy. He's going to be I think I match up well with him, and, you know, I think what he thinks he's going to do to win is going to not work out well for him. So, not downplaying his ability, he's a fucking dog. I mean, you have to kill that guy to stop him. But I got to focus on him, and yeah, after we get through this one, and of course, I like making money, to be honest with you. So I would fight every month if they would. The belt's important, so that's the most important thing about that belt is the money it brings, to be honest with you. Like, I want to be a champion. I know that bare knuckle, I have the skill set to be a champion. I think I match up well with all the guys in my weight class, even the champion. But if I had to, you know, fight big names and make more money, then, you know, I would be fine doing that. But yep, I mean, I should be in the rankings for sure after this one, and then we'll see what happens. You know, like, I'm not gonna chase it, but I definitely, if the opportunity comes up, I'll definitely take it.
Yeah, and obviously not in a way where you'd like divulge the game plan per se, but like you talk about like maybe what Girtz thinks his approach would be is maybe not necessarily gonna pan out. Do you think like it's oriented to like maybe he thinks he's just gonna like charge across the ring and kind of like encroach into your space, but your style is going to be like a little more like savvy, fight IQ minded kind of thing, like pick your shots kind of thing? Or like how do you like kind of look at that kind of end there? Like what do you think, I guess, he's going to try to do that's ultimately not going to really pan out, I guess?
Well, you know, here's one thing that always people forget about. It's like no matter what people's game plans are, you have habits. There's fight habits that you get into, and they're subconscious. There's things you do and things you don't do that in a fight you do. So, you know, we're both going to have things like that. There's certain things he does. He backs up and he'll feint, come forward, you know, or he'll charge forward and blitz. He backs up to his right. He leads people into his right hand. His left hand is dangerous, but his right hand is what he knocks people out with and hurts people with. Same thing with Mike Richmond. These southpaws, they'll corral you into the right hand because the ideology is, keep your foot on the outside and, you know, you can avoid his left hand. I actually prefer to be inside his left hand. But that being said, I'm sure his game plan is going to be to make it grimy and dirty, because if we go skill for skill, he loses. I'm sure he knows that. He's smart. His coaches are smart. He has good coaches. So if we keep it on the outside and have a technical battle, you know, that doesn't suit his style. On the other hand, though, like, I just haven't been brawling with guys because I don't have to. Like, I can fucking brawl. Okay, I spar with David Rickles. Okay,
yeah.
Like we brawl, man. Like, I can brawl and get in there and get dirty. I can fight on the inside and all that. I just haven't had to yet. And if the rounds, like for my last one, when I fought Derek Finley, like the fifth round, I was about to dump it on him, just pour it on, but he didn't answer the bell. So I kind of like to get guys' timing down and be more technical and slick and, you know, bust out some gypsy shit. If he wants to run in and catch a counter, he can. I mean, he's more than welcome to do that. I think that's what he's going to try to do. I think, he has the right idea. I've read some of his interviews about the fight. He's like, in bare knuckle, you want to be first and be often and just throw as much as you can. But I don't think people have utilized the clinch as well as I have in bare knuckle. And if he wants to do that, he leaves himself really open for counters, and he gets away with it in MMA because he can shoot. But in bare knuckle, that's not going to suit him as well as it does in MMA. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We might end up having a technical fight. Like, he can fight technical. He's either going forward all the way, or he'll back up and kind of try to counter, or he'll back up and explode forward. So it might be, dude, you never know, dude. It might be a boring-ass fight. I don't think so, but you never know. Or we could brawl for 5 rounds. But I'm going to try to just piece him apart, put some power on him. I want to put him out of there. If he thinks he's going to bully me, he's fucking mistaken. That's just not going to happen. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I love the insights you give into your different fights, and especially so for this one, because it's such an intriguing stylistic matchup. And like I was saying before, the placement on the card definitely getting some good shine. But I do want to, be mindful of your time too. Like, I mean, it being so close to the fight, a mid-fight week, and everything. I really do appreciate the time as always, Jake. But to that point, is there anything you might want to add as a parting thought as we're kind of wrapping up, man?
Man, how you doing?
It's been kind of...
How you doing, man? You doing okay?
It's admittedly been kind of a hectic year for me in a lot of regards, but I feel like I've been doing better lately, I would say. I was not having the greatest time even a bit earlier in this year, like a few weeks ago, even realistically, but doing a lot better as of late and trying to figure some things out. So, yeah, I mean, in a relative sense, doing better for sure, so.
Just watch my fight, and then afterwards have a couple shots. I'll have a couple shots, and, fucking, if you ever need someone to chat with, you hit me up.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I mean, you've always given me the vibe that you're, like, a really good guy. Like, I know we do the interviews in the context of, like, there's a fight coming up and stuff like that, but I always do enjoy talking to you. I think you're an insightful, good guy, and, yeah, no, I appreciate you extending that, man.
Thank you. I can be a complete dick sometimes. My girlfriend won't touch that. I will publicly state that I can be an asshole, so. But, anyway, yeah, hey, I appreciate you, man. I like, same for you. I always like talking to you. You're the best interviewer I ever get interviewed by, so there you go.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. I mean, I think you're a guy that you're probably my favorite interview, realistically. We've done a lot of, like, great ones over the years and stuff like that, and hopefully many more to come. But, yeah, I mean, we got October 15th we're looking at, and a great fight with Brandon Girtz at BKFC 31. And, yeah, to reiterate, thanks so much for giving some insights ahead of this one, man, and just, yeah, you enjoy the remainder of fight week there, and hopefully it comes quickly so you can get out there and show your skills.
Oh, yeah, man. Appreciate you. I'll see you later.